Hey everybody, this is TotalGamerJunkie. I want to welcome you all back to my channel. So I want to give a shout out to one of my commenters, Jason Gilliar, who he sent me a comment about something, and after a bit of research, I think I know what it is. And if I'm wrong, Jason, do let me know in the comments below. But supposedly, a few days ago, a tweet came out from one of the people who was working on Double Exposure, a cinematic artist to be exact, by the name of Peter Conlon. And suppose I don't know too much about this guy other than what I'm about to tell you, but he was one of the developers on Double Exposure who got booted when they were doing layoffs. I don't know if it was last year or this year, late last year or early this year. But he made a Twitter thread, and this has people going mad about what he's saying. Now, I do want to, before I discuss this, I want to read what this Twitter thread was, and then we'll get into this. So he apparently put, not apparently, he did put, while working on Double Exposure, we often debated the final choice in the original Life is Strange. The idea kept coming up that choosing Chloe over everyone in Arcadia Bay wasn't just the wrong choice, but the evil choice. I have some thoughts about that. It's basically a trolley problem. Let many people die who you don't know well to save one person you do know and care about a lot. From the game stats, players are divided evenly on this choice, which is odd, because the online community is extremely loudly Team Chloe. At first I thought maybe players that chose the town simply just found Chloe annoying, a common refrain, and making that choice was obvious to them, but I don't feel that many people would have actually finished the game if that was the case. Why would you play a whole game hating the characters and then be glad when they die at the end? You'd stop. Steam refunds exist. Additionally, I don't think it's fair to say a more vocal fan base is a more true fan base. That conclusion is unsupportable on so many levels. I'd like to hear from sociologists, but I think it's a matter of community versus outcast. If you as a person feel a strong responsibility towards community, have a large family, have strong ties with a large group of friends, you would choose the town, obviously. While if you personally are always on the outskirts, struggle to find people who understand you, have few friends, and especially if you grew up feeling left out or broken, you would likely value a singular person and feel a great deal of loyalty towards them. Chloe's personality as outsider lends heavily to this idea. She isn't afraid of speaking her mind, making enemies, or doing what others say is wrong. She's extremely loyal and fights for the people she loves. If you felt this, she's probably very like someone you love. I think in both cases, the choice you made in your playthrough was influenced by your feelings of real people in your life. The characters in the game take on a proxy role for your own connection and values, and in both cases, the sacrificed characters are easy to depersonalize. It's just a game, they aren't real people, she's kind of annoying, I don't really see the other character, that's normal, stories are real because we make them real. In a lot of the ways, the stats should be more weighed towards saving the town. On the face of it, it's the most objectively moral choice, but since the entire game is spent building that relationship between Max and Chloe, they became more real to the players. In the end, I think it's much more complicated than right or wrong. I think our moral compass is going to be skewed hard by our lives and how we've been treated through them, passing judgment on others based on the choice that overlooks a huge portion of who we are as people. Now, from the way he talks, it's pretty clear that the sacrifice Chloe ending was meant to be original. I don't know how he could say what he said because, when you're working on a game, even if you get fired or you decide to quit, you have to sign an NDA, so you can't disclose, or you can't disclose all this stuff, or you get sued. So what I think is he's just saying this is what was originally planned. At least that's how I'm interpreting some of it, because I remember there was a leak before the game. I forget when the leak was, but it was called Aperture, Life is Strange Aperture, and Max could use a camera to rewind time. And apparently, because I didn't believe it, because it said that it made reference to the fact that the sacrifice Chloe ending was canon. And I didn't believe this leak because in every Life is Strange game, with the exception of Before the Storm, we're asked if we sacrificed Arcadia Bay or sacrificed Chloe. And so the fact that they would remove this choice is why I didn't believe the leak. And this would also explain if this was true and they were originally going to make the game as just sacrifice Chloe being the canon ending, it might make sense as why the final episode or chapter for Double Exposure is delayed, because if you pre-order the game early, the Ultimate Edition that is, you get the first 2 chapters and then the third one you get 2 weeks later. And I think that's when Chloe will be making her appearance, because let's say that most of the game is finished. Like, let's say they finished the game, but then they decided to they know they're going to piss off the fan base if they make one ending canon. Even if you like Chloe, some people like to sacrifice her to save Arcadia Bay, so you can't have one ending be canon. So I think what they've done is, like, originally this was a Sacrifice Chloe sequel, and they realized that, okay, we've done all this, but we're going to piss off a lot of people, so we have to bring Chloe back. And I can understand how they could do that, because if Chloe only appears in episode 3, then episode 1 and 2 would simply be, they just have to record voice lines where Max could talk to Chloe on the phone, and even have little text messages if you chose to sacrifice Arcadia Bay. So that way, players can be in constant, like, not constant, but in communication with Chloe over text and on the phone, and then they got to do the motion capture and the voice acting so they can bring her in person for episode 3. Now, this guy Peter, I gotta be honest, I'm not trying to be a dick here, but the way he's written this Twitter feed about how us as players make choices, he sounds like a complete idiot. And I'm not trying to start anything, like, don't go and just send this guy hate threads. That's just, you shouldn't do that, it's wrong. But I am gonna admit, like, what he's written here is really stupid. For example, he says the characters in the game take on a proxy role for your own connections and values. And if you Chloe is probably like someone you love if you chose to save her instead of Arcadia Bay. I've never met anyone like Chloe in my life. Like, I've met people, like, closest example I could make is I've met a few people like Chloe from Before the Storm, but never from Life is Strange 1. And let's be clear, when we're playing this game, what I like about when you do a first playthrough of a game is not that you don't know what's going to happen. It's you don't know what you're going to choose. As players, when we play a game, a choose your own adventure game, whether it be Life is Strange, Dragon Age, Mass Effect, our first time playing, we make the choices. We determine our own, like, moral values. We put our moral values in the game. Okay, do I agree with this? Do I not agree with this? What would I do in this situation? There is no good or bad ending for Life is Strange. It's a decision that us as players have to make based on the time we spent with Chloe and the time we spent in Arcadia Bay. Like, how are we to make that choice? Now, we can replay the game and make the choice again, but it's that first playthrough when we have to make that choice that determines, like, what would we do in that situation. Like, let's take a look at for example, I want to give you an example. Life is Strange 2. Now, there are multiple endings in that game, but I think we can all agree that the worst ending is Sean and Daniel crossing the border, but Sean ends up dying. And Daniel's left all by himself, and he has to fend for himself on the streets. And my favorite ending, in fact, I have a disagreement with a friend, and I'm willing to make a video about this. The ending I prefer, I consider it the good ending, the best ending, is where Sean and Daniel are able to cross over to Mexico, and I believe it's Puerto Lobos, if I'm remembering correctly. And Sean and Daniel own a garage store, and to me that's so great, because the reason I like that ending, I consider it the good ending, is because how much it mirrors the worst ending. Like, they're almost identical, but the good one is more, okay, it's sad, but there's hope there. There's a sort of bittersweetness. But then if Daniel's all alone, it's just, man. Even if you watch the final scenes with Daniel when he attacks the thugs, whether it's in the good or bad ending, you can see there's a clear difference with how it's done based on the endings. Now, I have a friend, while we agree that Daniel being alone is the worst ending, he believes that Sean going to prison is the best ending. That way Daniel can have a normal life, because the whole point of that was you gotta find a safe place for Daniel, and if you do, then Daniel most likely lives with his grandparents. I don't think his mother would take him in, because we all know the backstory of her, but she does make an appearance with Lila at the end of the game, and I don't think that's good. Sean spends 15 years in prison, if I'm remembering correctly, 12 to 15 years. And what's he going to do now? I do believe at the end he drives off to Mexico. He's going to head to Puerto Lobos, because there's nothing left for him once he got out of prison. No friends, well, like Lila, but you know what I mean. Like, his whole life is basically over. How can he find a job? How can he integrate into society? So I think this whole talk about, sacrificing Chloe's the bad ending and saving Arcadia Bay is the good ending, no it is not. It's about what we value most as players. We've invested in this character, we've invested in the story. Our morality shapes what our beliefs are, what we like, what we dislike. That determines how the game is played out. When I first played Life is Strange 1, I did not like Victoria. In fact, I didn't even warn her about the dark room. But then when I made a second playthrough, I was nice to her, and what happened? She talked to Jefferson, he ended up drugging her and killed her in one timeline. If telling her being nice to her and telling her the truth results in her being dead, then wouldn't that be classified as the bad ending? As the good ending is to be a bitch to her and not warn her about the dark room. Unless you know, if you want to play the moral high ground and be a bitch to her and then warn her about the dark room, which she won't believe you. But you can stand on that mountain and be like, yep, I did what I could. The rest is up to fate. Or in episode 4 with Chloe, she asked Max if she can put her to sleep, euthanize her. Wouldn't that be considered a bad choice to agree with Chloe's wishes? But yet, when Chloe says to Max, she knows she has to die and she's willing to make that sacrifice, that's a good choice to make? No, that doesn't make any sense. Now, I would like to delve deeper into this topic about morality and how it impacts Life is Strange and our choices in it more. I'd like to make a better video about that, but for now I'm just going to end it here. Hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. This is TotalGamerJunkie, signing off.